Welcome to the Fractured Families podcast. I'm Charity, a dedicated parental alienation coach here to support and advocate for families navigating the challenges of high conflict divorce and custody disputes. I'm here to shed light on the struggles many families face, offering insights, strategies, and hope for those seeking justice and healing. In each episode, I'll explore real-life stories, expert advice, and practical solutions to help rebuild and strengthen the bond that holds families together. Whether you're personally affected or looking to understand more about these complex issues, you're not alone. I'm here to walk you down this path. Come join me as I navigate the complexities of family law, share inspiring journeys of resilience, and advocate for meaningful. Hi, this is Fractured Families Podcast. I'm here with Lance Reyes. Lance is here to tell us about the story and the challenge he's had in fighting for his son, Cayson Reyes. When he first separated, he was raising his son 4 days a week while the mother of his son was out doing whatever she was doing. And Lance wants to be on our show to talk about what is going on, how he's fighting for his son, and how difficult the family court system is, and how it has affected the relationship with him and his son.
Correct. So yes, I'm Lance Reyes. I'm 36 years old. I'm originally from London, England. Currently living in Texas, and this is my story about how I became alienated from my son, Cayson Reyes, and the battles that I've been facing, and how difficult it's been. As you see with the videos that I post and things like that, it's not been very easy at all. The biggest thing that I now deal with is the level of interferences that I have as far as interacting with my son, and obviously the financial side of things and how much it costs just for me to be able to be involved in my son's life as little as possible. It's not ideal, but something is better than nothing at this stage. It's such a, how can I explain, it takes such a toll on you. It changes you. It's the effect it has on the child that is the biggest struggle and acceptance that I have. I hope that this kind of brings awareness to people that don't know that these kind of things happen or go on behind, the scenes of, their divorces or their custody battles. It's not a race, it's a marathon, and the issue is that parents really and truly don't have rights to their own children. Once you go into family courts, it's pretty much game on. You're going to face silver bullet tactics. You're going to have all these rules and regulations that they're going to make you face and do to try and prolong the situation for their financial gain. And that's the kind of the truth of it. But it's the child who suffers at the end of the day, and it needs to come to a stop.
So where are you in the court case now? How are things progressing? How much custody do you have? And what are the next steps?
Truthfully, it's gotten nowhere now because obviously the lack of funds. I've already spent almost $30,000 for me to just get 2 hours with my son when it's allowed. And obviously with the whole court proceedings and stuff like that, because you fight for your rights, the attorneys don't like it. They want you to settle for the bare minimum for, as much money as they can make. And the biggest issue is it comes usually out of one person's pocket, which is normally, the one who has the better income. That being said, I technically have gotten nowhere as far as any kind of progression whatsoever, as far as being back in my son's life in comparison to what we used to have. Like, as you know, I used to have him 4 days a week while his mum was doing whatever she was doing. Once she realized that I was not going to go back to that hostile environment and the abuse and mental manipulation, constantly being told that I was mentally unstable and all these things for basically discovering the truth. I stupidly let her take him that week after being accused that I was not going to give him back and all this stuff. When she came and picked him up, she told me I was never going to see him again. And obviously I had to take action straight away to make sure that, I was going to be in my son's life because I was not married to her. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until going through the whole court proceedings and stuff like that I realized I had no rights to him. So going through court, I had to originally establish my rights, prove that I was on the birth certificate, just so I had some kind of proof that I am the father and that I have the right to be in that child's life. The issue is that they don't care about that. It boils down to money. Mm-hmm. That's all they care about. Because I've tried going for motions for enforcement and things like that because we went to court And obviously I've faced, the typical silver bullet tactics, and even going through their rules and regulations of things that I had to prove were not true. It made no difference. Oh, if I'm lucky, I get to see him maybe 2 hours, maybe once, maybe twice a month, if I'm lucky.
Is that supervised or unsupervised?
It's supervised. We have a court order where I had to do these 3 stages. The third stage was 180 days of supervised visits, and that was 2 years ago. And then the second stage was supposed to be 8 hours every other weekend, unsupervised. And then the third stage was supposed to be standard possession. I'm still doing the supervised visits just so I can see my child, because she's not letting me move to any stages.
So let's talk a little bit about the allegations of abuse with the silver bullet tactic. What strategy, what did she say about that to get you into that position?
Yeah, so the silver bullet tactics I faced in court, it kind of led up to that. What originally happened was every time I would notice something was going on, I was always deemed crazy, mentally unstable, things like that. I didn't know what was actually going on at the time, to where it happens so often that you start questioning your own sanity. So every time I would notice something happening, I would kind of start looking into it, because I knew I wasn't crazy, but obviously something wasn't right. I could tell something was going on, which I turned out to be right. I was correct. So I would leave, but it wasn't just me leaving. I always had my son. It was like, if I got kicked out, me and my son were kicked out. Once she did what she did with taking him and stuff like that, and I went and had the psychological evaluations done, showed them all the messages and everything that she was diagnosing me with and things like that. But the guy who evaluated me said, I'm telling you right now, you do not have anything wrong with you. He said, I think she needs to come in and be evaluated. Well, I brought that up to my attorney's attention. They did nothing. They're just like, okay, well, you passed the psychological evaluation. Okay, well, I proved in court, technically, that there's nothing wrong with me. So why is it that I'm not safe to be around my child for recognizing something that was going on behind closed doors? The other silver bullet tactic was abuse. Well, what that was, when it was brought up in court, when I found out about the infidelity, me and her had a big argument, and she left and went to a hotel one night, took my son, because that was one of her tactics to hurt me, When she did that, the following day, she came home. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to confront her, nothing like that. So I sat there on the couch while she went into the house and getting washed and changed, just taking her time, brushing her teeth, doing her hair, all that stuff in the bathroom. I sat there for about probably a good 15, 20 minutes, and it just kept eating away at me. It was like, I want to know where my son is. I need to know where he is. I need to know that he's okay. Went to the bathroom. I said, where's Cayson? And she just turned around and goes, he's in the car. The whole time I'm sitting there on the couch, and she confessed this in court too. And my immediate reaction was like, WTF, what the hell? I went out, because where the car park was, where our driveway was at the back of the house. I went out to the back of the house. Car wasn't running, it wasn't locked or nothing like that, and he was in his car seat asleep. And obviously this is during the summer, so it was hot, I remember pulling him out the car, and he was kind of clammy and stuff like that, because obviously it's hot in the vehicle. And at this time, I'm kind of like seeing red. You just left him, left in the car, hot, to like hurt me, to hurt an innocent like infant at that time. I was pretty angry, I'm not gonna lie. So I brought him into the house, and I sat him down in the living room, unbuckled him out of the car seat and stuff like that, but he was asleep, so I wasn't gonna wake him. And I went back into the bedroom, and truthfully, because of like how emotionally hurt I was with like, you're hurting an innocent baby, leaving him in a hot vehicle. I went in there, called her a few names for doing that to him. And she pulled out her cell phone and started recording my reaction, saying, oh, look how mentally unstable he is. Look how crazy he is. So what I did, I said, I grabbed the phone at the time. I said, you need to cut this crap out. Why are you doing this to him? Anyway, the police ended up showing up, because what happened was I hit the 2 buttons on the phone, held it down. When I grabbed the phone, it did the SOS. So basically, I pulled the cops on myself by doing that. Arrested me for assault at the time. Took a year and a half, almost 2 years, to prove my innocence with like all the recordings, the video footage and stuff like that. So once it went to court, proved that there was no actual, assault or family violence or anything like that. And the court dropped it for, because she actually confessed to the supervisor that I've never hurt her, never laid a hand on her, nothing like that. But in court, she's saying that, I abused her and all this stuff. So I had to pay for like affidavits and things like that to prove my innocence while going through this whole child custody case to prove I'm not mentally unstable. I have no history of assault, family violence, or anything like that. And that there is child abuse involved in this situation that she confessed to in court. And the judge turned around and said to her, what you are confessing to is a felony, and still gave her custody. So it's things like that you can take her word for the allegations that she's making. I'm sitting here proving my innocence left, right, and center. But yeah, I still have to pay to see my son 2 hours when it's allowed. But yeah, I still haven't moved to those other stages. It just doesn't make sense.
So that lawyer that you had then, do you still have that lawyer now, or are you self-representing?
No, because I went through 2 attorneys. The first attorney, because of all the evidence and the allegations at the time, he said he wanted another $7,500 down after hiring him, after the first retainer I paid. Yeah. Then he wanted an additional $7,500 for mediation, and then $30,000 for the final hearing. Yeah, that was the first attorney. And after I heard that, after me going through all of this, proving my innocence and stuff like that, I'm like, no, I should not have to pay that when I've proved everything to be false. But I have to pay all this money out while she pleads that she's indigent, which I know is not true. It's not true. But just for me to be a parent, I have to pay all this money. It just doesn't make sense.
Are you represented right now, or are you?
No, I'm representing myself because I'm not being rude or anything like that.
So when was the last time you saw him?
December.
And that was supervised.
It's supposed to be today, but I made a post about that too, and that got denied again. No explanation, no nothing. I never got paid till late, so I couldn't pay the supervisor, to see him. Last time, as you guys saw, $3.58 is apparently enough to stop you from seeing your child. But yet I've never had to pay a transaction fee before. These things that can just pop up and be so against you and stop you from seeing your child.
So what about her? Is she in a relationship? Is she still single?
So I don't know, but she has sent me emails before, I guess, just trying to mentally manipulate me and stuff like that. She mentions that she has a significant other and stuff like that, but won't disclose who he is, won't tell me who he is. I've mentioned this to the attorneys and things like that. I said, well, if someone's around my child, I think there needs to be background checks done and stuff like that and prove they're not under doing drugs or anything like that. Especially since you guys are treating me that way, deeming me to be unsafe around my own child with everything I've proven to be false. But she can basically try and sit there and taunt me oh, I've got this person and stuff like that. Then identify him. I'm in a relationship. I'm not hiding who I'm with. So why? I don't get the secrecy behind it all, unless you have something to hide. The only thing I can honestly come up with, because obviously I can't do some kind of private investigating myself because it's obviously illegal, to find out who this other person is. But if you used to ask me directly who I personally think it is, I think she went back to her ex-husband, because her and her ex-husband originally left California for embezzling money from a motorcycle charity. Come to find out, it's a crazy deep loophole, rabbit hole to go down. All this stuff I found out about her. It wasn't until after I took her to court and found out what her real name was, just doing a simple background check and things like that, because obviously I'm in the security, side of things as far as what my job is. It was mind-blowing to find out who she really was. She actually has a history of family assault violence. She apparently got arrested for assaulting her mom, things like that. And it's I'm having all this stuff projected onto me.
But that's what they do, right? They project it onto you so that they can look like they're the innocent ones.
Right. And it wasn't until discovering all this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm having all this said about me when she's actually guilty of it. And I think that was the hardest pill to swallow, to be honest. Realizing who she really was, and kind of felt preyed upon almost. It's really hard to explain how the emotions that I was feeling at that time when I discovered all this.
What are you doing for you? How are you helping yourself? with those emotions?
That's probably the hardest question to answer, to be honest, out of all of this. You can't really do anything for yourself, truthfully. Kind of just go with the flow of everything and kind of embrace the suck, I guess, is the only words I could say. There's nothing you can do to make this easier, to be honest. You can do things that kind of preoccupy your mind, like some of the things I do, as hobbies or things like that. But it's a temporary suffice, to be honest. That's it, because you always got to look around in the end and, see that your child's not there, and it's not the same.
So she never took a psychological assessment. Is that something you plan on trying to put in front of the judge to make her do with her background?
So I did try that when my last attorney, because I sent him all of the previous recordings, the dates and things like that of audit interferences with the electronic access and the denial of visitations. He only filed for, I think, is like between 13 and 15 violations of court orders. By that time, he ended up quitting because we had went through mediation, and in mediation, it was coercion from the start. It was, well, you need to do this now, you need to do that, you need to do that. You need to go through drug testing. You need to have go through batters intervention classes. All of this. It's like, when is this going to stop? So I did it, and even though I'm doing all of that through the mediation, they held all of that against me because I hadn't completed it. Well, even though I completed it, I didn't have the money at the time to pay for the certificate. They want you to pay, I think it's like $800 if you're not indigent for a certificate, just to show that you completed the classes. Even though I have the email saying, hey, Lance Reyes completed this class for something I wasn't guilty in anyway, like the batter's intervention for a start. They held that against me in mediation. Every time I didn't agree with something, my attorney would say, well, that's going to be an additional $10,000 to fight that in court. So I'm freaking out here. I'm like, why? Like, I'm not agreeing to her terms because I'm innocent in something, but to prove that I'm innocent, we have to go back to court, pay another $10,000 just for you to represent. So in the end, I argued that with my attorney, and right away he wanted to resign. So I'm like, okay, so, you're not fighting for me clearly. I'm an innocent person. Then you're obviously not the right person to handle this case. At that time, the date came up in court for the motion for enforcement, and we went to court. I had all of this evidence, had all the videos on the thumb drive of everything that I went through with all the violations of court orders. I had a big binder of like all the screenshots of the conversations, and the judge refused to view my evidence. They refused to view my evidence. Wouldn't even look at it.
Is this the same judge you've had the whole time?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, he refused to see the evidence.
Yeah, so that day when she refused to view the evidence, her attorney stood up and made it all about increasing the child support. So I had that increased. And then, right before we had the interview last time, that day, she said, are you in agreement with all the terms and conditions that we went through mediation? I said, no, I object. I also sent an email back to her saying, these are the terms and conditions that I want adjusted so that I can have more custody of my son. Completely ignored my email. Obviously, just put the paperwork to the judge, and that judge signed off on it probably within like 45 minutes to a couple of hours, if that. I was at work at the time. But if you used to read what they signed off on, it says Lance appeared physically and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Child support now up to $900 a month. Almost 900, 886 or something like that now. Yeah, so, and then I got another letter the other day from the Attorney General. They're saying that now I owe $4,000 in back child support. Because I think what they did is, because of the difference that I was paying that was agreed in court, which originally was $666 a month, I didn't agree to their terms through mediation, and the judge signed off on it now being almost $900. They're wanting that back pay for the previous child support payments, with a difference that should have been, I guess, now $900. So now they're saying I owe $4,000 in back child support.
It's such a scam. It's all about the money. Every single thing about family court is all about the money.
Yep, that's Title 4D. That's what it is, Title 4D. And it wasn't until I went through this, I started doing research and finding out how corrupt the system is. And unless you went through it, you would have no clue that this goes on. Finding out about Title 4D and how they're all about the money, how they're government funded and stuff like that. I looked into how many men are in prison for child support, and it outweighs everything else. It outweighs people being in prison for drugs, traffic violations, criminal offenses, you name it. The population is higher for child support than any other crime.
How do they think that's going to help the situation when you put the father in prison? How do you think?
So this is the truth. When I went to court last time, I actually stood up in court and I said that to the judge. And I almost got arrested that day for standing up and saying this, because I said, this is why men end up in jail. I said, for your Title 4D, because this is all you care about is the money. You don't care about the child. You don't care about the child's safety, because it's obvious. I came into court with all this evidence. Just because it wasn't filed the way you want it to be filed does not mean that what I'm saying and trying to prove to you is not true. Evidence is evidence. And when an innocent person is innocent, you should not be able to overlook evidence when you can stand there and accept allegations. So how does that work? Make that make sense. That's why I got so angry that day in court. And I stood up to the judge and said, this is why you have so many men in prison for child support. But while they're in prison for child support, what's happening about that child support? It doesn't stop. It keeps adding up.
Of course.
So they're in jail. They can't work. You're racking up a higher bill on them, which prolongs their prison sentences, which is why they never get out.
Right.
But if they do get out, they already owe hundreds of thousands.
But not only that, but they profit off of them being in prison, because prison is a money-making machine as well.
Exactly.
Right? So now the government is making a profit off of this father in prison, and their thought is, well, we make money off of them because it's a money scam to go send someone away to jail or prison. And then when they come out, we're going to get the money back again. How do you think you're going to do that? Because during the prison time, they're not given the tools or the opportunity to come out and be successful, right? They don't have those skills at that point to come out and just be successful. They're going to not succeed.
Right, exactly. And I don't know how the Attorney General can be so enforceable on that situation, providing that the father is in jail, but you're still worried about collecting that money, when it's costing you money to keep him in a cell, to feed him, clothe, keep him in there as a form of punishment for something that you inflicted on someone else. It's a giant Ponzi scheme. That's exactly what it is.
It's so bad. Okay, so you almost put you in jail. How did you get out of that?
I walked out of there. So I said what I said real quick, and I walked out of there. There's probably 4 or 5 police officers walking into that courtroom as I was walking out. I guess, obviously, they didn't know who I was. They just saw me walking past. They walked in. I got in the elevator. They walked back out, saw me, and they didn't bother pursuing it any further. I just said my piece, walked out. The judge had already closed the case at the time before I said what I said. But it's the truth. You go arrest me for telling the truth?
Of course they are. They don't want you to challenge them. They have a fine-oiled machine. They don't want anyone getting in the way of that.
Right.
But they think people don't know.
Yeah, so I now have a restraining order put on me. This is God's honest truth, silencing me, telling me that I'm not allowed to talk about any of this on any kind of radio station or anything like that. No social media or anything. But here's the trick. So I've learned that the loophole is, yes, I'm not allowed to do that against the opposing party. But I have no restraining order talking about my child and the things that I'm going through with my child. So I'm just spreading the awareness to bring light to this situation, things like that. But truthfully, I don't care. You're affecting innocent people's lives and their relationship with their child. And someone needs to be held accountable, because clearly it's not going to be the true abusive person or the accuser in situations like that. 9 times out of 10, it's the loving parent that are the ones that suffer, and they have to keep providing in their abuser's money, just to have their child kept away from them.
Yeah.
And if you want to see your child, then you got to pay more money.
So when did they make that ruling about no public awareness or radio or media? When did they make that rule?
That was when I proved that I was innocent going through the assault charge. Once I proved that I was innocent in that, her new allegation was that she thinks that I'm going to kill her for all this, exposing the truth, proving the lies wrong, not to be true. And she also wanted my fiance to put a restraining order on me also, because she wanted to protect her. And, my fiance is like, what? So yeah, it's stupid things like that, but they overlook it and it's like, okay, well, clearly this person's not the fault,
Yeah, they're not sane. They're not mentally
yeah,
sane.
not saying,
Yeah.
and they go along with it because they make money from it.
Of course. Well, the thing is, like, they present, it's kind of shocking because they saw that she left him in the car. I mean, if he knew that was a felony, that in itself should have been the grounds
And
for,
that's my biggest argument is
yeah,
how do you not take that serious?
yes,
But
yes,
allegations you will.
yes. I mean, that's actual proof. And she said it, that you left the
Confessing court.
child. Yes.
Confessing court. I've tried 3 times to get the court transcripts. The last attorney I had, he obviously told me, hey, it's going to cost you this much to get the court transcripts and stuff like that. But if it's your case, I don't believe that you should have to pay for the records being set in your own case when you've already paid $7,000, $5,000, $30,000 for this situation to be addressed in the first place. Why do I need to pay to prove that this was said in court?
Because it's amazing.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's all about the money.
Yeah, and then even if you get the transcripts, they're going to dictate what they want to give you, and they're going to make some excuse why you can't get this or why you can't get that. And transcripts are really expensive, so expensive.
Yeah, I think it was, I'm trying to remember, I have to look through the emails. I believe it's like $400 to $500 just for the 30 pages, I believe. It's like $4.50 for like per page or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we ended up paying like $7,000 for transcripts. And it's, yeah.
Wow.
And then they didn't even give them all the right ones. And then you're like, well, where are all the rest of them? Well, that's not included. That's another $5,000 because
it's not included when it protects the judge.
Of course. Yeah. Or on one of them, they said, oh, the transcripts got deleted somehow. So there's no transcripts. Imagine that. Yeah, it's absolute corruption through and through. Okay, so next steps. You're representing yourself. You didn't get to see him. You were supposed to see him today. And so what happens next?
I don't know. It's just another. So what I've discovered is that every time there's like a violation and I want any kind of record of it that could be used in court, it needs to be through a court official and it needs to be notarized and all this stuff, but I have to pay for the affidavits. Each affidavit is $200. The last affidavit I paid for was proved that, my son was being brought to the supervised visits, with, all dating back from the start that she would bring him with no diaper on, things like that, covered in paint, to the supervised visits. And
was it concerning to anybody?
Luckily enough, the first 2 supervisors that I had were seen through the BS, basically, so they're actually documenting it, notarizing it, making notes of it. I actually got that in the transcript, the affidavit, to where it is all notarized in there and, wrote down child was brought to the supervised visits with no underwear on, just pants and a t-shirt. It got so bad to the stage where I now know that every time I go to a supervised visit, I spoil my child. I'm not going to lie. I spoil him. He's always in brand new clothing. I always make sure he's got brand new pants, brand new socks, brand new t-shirts, sweatshirts, brand new shoes. Well, 2 pairs of shoes. I always buy 2 pairs of shoes whenever I go see him. And he'll always show up in raggedy old clothes. And it wasn't until it was brought to my attention by someone else that everything I'm buying him, she was selling online.
Oh my gosh.
So it's gone to the point where now if I put him in new clothing or new shoes, that I have to make sure the tags are cut out or anything that can make them returnable to the store or anything like that. Facebook Marketplace doesn't really care.
No, they don't care.
They still sell it.
So she's got some serious psychological issues and it won't be addressed.
No, it will not get addressed. And it's because they're profiting from the situation.
Yeah, of course. And when she doesn't bring him to the scheduled visits, have you filed contempt of courts?
Yes. So, only that one contempt of court, whatever, got filed, and when we went, it just turned into increasing child support. They don't care. When the attorney I had at the time actually turned around and said to me and my fiance, she can say and do whatever she wants because she is apparently the victim. Those were the words he actually told me. So she can say and do whatever she wants. The court orders only pertain to me. Even though her name's on it, that she's got all these rules and regulations to abide by too, they don't they don't appeal to her. They don't apply to her.
It's just so unfair. I mean, it's just shockingly unfair.
Yeah, and even when like you saw that video I posted of like when I was on FaceTime with him one day, and you literally see the fear in him.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who's behind that camera or what happened before I had that phone call. But you cannot tell me that whoever's in that household needs to be investigated. And it's videos like that I see and I try to bring awareness to, is that here I am. I have a career. My career is protecting people and their businesses. But I'm not safe to be around my own child. I go through background checks, like we have random drug tests, you name it. But I'm not safe enough to be around my child, but I have to see my child like that. And you're going to do nothing about it.
Have you called Child Protective Services? Have they been involved in all of your...
I posted that phone call online, and they won't do nothing.
What do they say? What is their position?
They said that because at the time they was not investigating my son, they was investigating something going on in the household, is what their words were to me. Every time I asked a question, her words to me was, we cannot confirm nor deny that. I'm just calling you to let you know that your son is safe, and we are not removing him from the household. And I turned around and said to CPS, I said, well, I'm telling you while you're on the phone with me that my son is not safe. I have video evidence of it. I'm telling you right now that you need to continue your investigations and stuff like that. They didn't care. They said, well, have you called and made a complaint? I said, why do I need to call when I'm literally on the phone with you? You're calling me, telling me something's going on in the house. Yeah. This is me telling you that, hey, no, something's not right. They want, same again, they want you to go through the whole procedure of, well, you have to file a complaint.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Well, it might be worth it. Might be worth it to just file Child Protective Services.
But then there's the other side of it that, well, I have to worry about it being held against me, because if I do that, then it'd be harassment.
Not only that, but retaliation on her part, right? And so that's the position that she puts you in, is if you dare try to do anything to shake up her current little fake dream, she's going to make you pay. Yeah. And that's the fear. And that is the fear. And it's a serious, the consequences and outcomes for that are really terrifying.
Yeah.
Because she can say whatever she wants. And if she's already used the silver bullet technique, who knows what she will do next.
Exactly. And obviously, as you guys saw, that my son is the pawn in all this, Yeah. What if I do something to where, okay, well, now we're going to hurt the child more, and it's not just emotionally, it's clearly physically, but I've tried doing it the right way, taking it to court, and the judge said, I'm not reviewing your evidence, not even knowing what the evidence is or, how severe it is. So I truthfully, I cannot be blamed for taking the steps that I've taken to spread this awareness and what's happening to my son. If someone I've paid to view my evidence, hear my case, refuses to acknowledge it, someone has to, All
right. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to close out with? Any ideas to...
Yeah, I think I would like to say that, so-called deadbeat parents that they are labeled as going through this whole entire process, they're not deadbeats to begin with. They're created, and the truth is that some people have the mental willpower to stand and fight, and some just see that it's just becomes too much. And the outcome, sadly, is one or two things. Is normally the parent either walking away and giving up and hoping that the child grows older and sees the truth, or unfortunately that parent ends up taking their own life, and
it's real
this year, so many parents have already taken their life this year, come to find out, through parental alienation and lack of access to their children. And I don't understand how, for the loss of that life, has gone unpunishable to the opposing party and the people involved.
It's a money-making scheme.
So money trumps people's lives and their relationships to their own children.
Well, thank you, Lance, for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me again.
Of course, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and end it, but let's stay on, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Fractured Families podcast. I hope our conversation has provided you with support, understanding, and actionable insights to help you navigate your own family challenges. Remember, healing is a journey, and reaching out for help is a sign of strength. You're not alone. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more families in need. You can contact me on social media at Parental Alienation is Real, and visit our website for additional resources and ways to get involved. Stay strong, stay connected, and keep fighting for the family bonds that matter most. Until next time, take care and stay resilient.